Hello and welcome. I am just going to informally talk about your comments and questions today from inside here in my little vihara, because it's about to rain again. It's tea time and a good time to sit with you and talk, as I've been doing quite a lot of recently, because I think being also holiday season here, more visitors have been coming here to see me. Early in the morning, even before Pindapata, before I go on Pindapata, that is my alms round each day, collecting food for myself, which is in abundance, so I share with others. At 7 a.m. They've even been coming and are coming at 6:30 before I leave to offer dana, which is very lovely to experience, and they enjoy giving. They have that opportunity, and it all goes to very good causes. Then after Pindapata, they're getting to know my routine around here. People come at about 8:30, often for remembering their dead relatives, when we share the goodness they have done or are doing by offering alms giving and in terms of food and toothpaste and such like requisites. We have this little ceremony. So this has been going on, and that has been every day really, which then can go on a little while longer to my meal time. I eat at 9, but I've been eating a bit later. And then when I've been going down to record this at the beach, it's a bit late then. It gets a little bit too warm, and I've rather done enough talking for the day. So I apologise if we've missed a couple of videos, but it's been the holiday routine and settling in. Although I feel that could be the way of things to come, because people know I'm here now and they like to come here. But that's okay. I've adjusted slightly my routine in order that I can do this without it increasing my time or interfering with my time of practice. So now when I would normally sit here and just maybe have my cup of tea and talk to myself or the cat or listen to a Dharma talk, I'm talking to you instead. With that in mind, let's look at some of the comments and questions. Well, it is New Year's Eve. So New Year's Eve being the end of the year, the calendar year, the internationally accepted calendar, and even in countries that don't use that calendar, this tends to be a night, a day of celebration. So you may be listening to this whilst you're getting ready, dressed up for your evening's entertainment, or going out celebrating with your friends and family, or you may be contemplating, planning on having a night staying in alone. And before I move on to the questions, the most common question I'm always asked is, why did you become a monk? Actually, the most common question I'm asked is, which country are you from? So, because I'm always in a different country. But the second most then is, why did you become a monk? Or that kind of question. And the answer has got shorter and shorter and shorter, and now is simply because accumulation is dukkha and renunciation is sukha. In other words, acquiring, getting things we think we want is suffering, whereas giving up things we really don't need, letting go, renunciation in that respect is actually evocative of happiness. it is the best way to establish contentment, and contentment is the very cause of happiness, sukha. So at this pertinent time, New Year's Eve, when everyone is making resolutions to give something up, you can think of it in that way. It is a little bit towards renunciation. You may be practicing Buddhists and having given up certain things already, or simply keeping the precepts means you are giving some things up, maybe drinking for instance, or you're maybe not Buddhists, practicing Buddhists, and just doing that for a period of time after the Christmas festivities and in the New Year. But whatever it is a form of renunciation. And that's why I became a monk, to support my intention, which is to follow the teachings of the Buddha, having experimented and tried them out for myself and found nothing but contentment and happiness from the practice of keeping those precepts, 5 simple rules, precepts, moral virtue, and practicing meditation brought me more happiness than anything else I'd done previously, more contentment than anything else I'd done previously, and in fact reduced that thirst, that craving for trying to satisfy sensual desire. So only when you try this can you experience it for yourself, and that is what the Buddha said. Don't believe me, don't believe others. Try it out, experience it for yourself, and then you will know, yes, it works, or no, it doesn't. Now, I haven't given up this form, this life of renunciation. I still live in this simple room, sleeping on this hard floor, with just this one set of robes, and nothing much else. Not allowed to use money, only eating 1 meal a day. Now, that doesn't sound like a great deal of fun. I'm not going out partying, dancing, having a beautiful dinner this evening with my friends and my family, because I would rather sit and enjoy the serenity, the tranquility, the peace, the calm that is established only through just allowing your body to settle and relax, your mind to settle and calm, and that can really only be done when we sit in meditation. And this is developing the ability to practice samadhi, to have an absorbed, focused mind on one thing and one thing alone, your meditation object. In my case, that would be the breath to begin with, in order to just settle and notice the breath until I can become fully absorbed into a very calm and pleasant way of being. This practice suits so many people. They get so much from it, whether it's just to extinguish a little anxiety, to bring someone out of depression, or whether it's to even heal the physical body. All of these aspects are the benefits that are derived from the practice of meditation. So for whatever reason we have experimented, tried this. Sometimes people may try it for a little while, don't really get into it, and it's often because of this desire for other things, for sensual desire, that very major hindrance in meditation that pulls them away from the practice. But very often they'll remember a little bit of the pleasantness that they experience in meditation and come back to it later on in life, or even later on, not too much later on. So it's worth bearing in mind. It's one of those things that if at first you don't succeed, you can try it again later on. And there wouldn't be people living as I do in the world, monks and nuns, bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, if it wasn't a very pleasant way to live, a very pleasant way to live indeed. So, people come also now in the evening often. Fortunately, my day is very long. I can still fit in my meditation 6 to 9 hours myself, whatever I'm doing. in terms of people coming to visit, who may come for just half an hour if they don't speak much English, but if they speak good English, they could stay for an hour. A gentleman came in, he was here talking, asking questions for an hour and a half last night, which I very much enjoyed, because he was able to also clarify lots of aspects in respect of how Buddhism is practiced in the temples, the monasteries where the monks live here in this country, and how that differs to what I'm used to. So this clarification fills in the gaps. But actually, as I said to him, this is different in every country. However, wherever I go, preferring to live alone as I do, my practice remains constant and the same. And it is as close and in accordance with what I understand to be the teachings of the Buddha as it possibly can be. So that is why I became a monk, because it is only in this form that you can be fully supported to not have any worries or cares about other things. I have my shelter here, provided for me by lay people. I have my robes, my clothing. I have, this is my pindapart, one of my other requisites, my alms bowl, which is filled with food each and every day, overflowing into this bag so that I can share that with others. And then when I'm not well, medicine is provided also for me. I'm happy to say that as a result, and this has also been occupying some of my time, hence missing a few days with videos, but I'm sure you've had other things to be getting on with at this time of year and wouldn't have missed me. But I've had to have so many tests because I'm having a small operation at the end of this week coming on Friday. And before you can have this surgery, you have to have all of your health checked, blood tests for this and that. And one of the readings was wrong, and it looked like I wasn't doing very well at all, but it was, I could really know it was wrong because I feel so very well. And I lead a very, how would you say, healthy. I know I only eat once a day, but my diet is very healthy. Eating in the morning, it gives your body a lot of time to digest, and in this country the food is in such abundance, you can make sure you're eating all of the right nutrients and getting the necessary food to keep your body healthy. But even before that, I've kept myself quite healthy in terms of my lifestyle. So I was surprised that a doctor, without asking any questions and seeing one blood test, decided that I was diabetic and prescribed me huge amounts of drugs, and thought this warranted further investigation because of course this does happen, it's very common. Yes, after having my blood sugar tested myself every 3 hours for a week, and also a few tests at the hospital and being checked at the laboratory, and 2 second opinions, so a second and a third opinion, it was clearly a mistake. The doctor, I think, might have asked some more questions about my lifestyle before prescribing, but nevertheless, I think the figure was printed, or I don't know, it was the wrong. I did notice my date of birth was wrong, but that was nothing to do with it, I'm sure. It had the correct, sort of the correct name, a consistently incorrect name throughout all of the results. Anyway, it couldn't have even been a blip. You can't as an ordinary person have such a high blood sugar level, and I was quite surprised to see it, not even knowing anything about diabetes. But now I know a lot about it. Type pre-diabetes, type 1, type 2, all about the levels, how they go up, spike, go down. And it's been quite useful to see how my eating habits do work in terms of my blood sugar levels, where my energy is less or sometimes even surprisingly more in the evening, because your body has this wonderful ability to maintain a balance of everything as best it can. And of course this is the problem with diabetes, when that balancing factor, the production of insulin, gets disturbed and goes a little bit wrong or a lot wrong, and that causes these problems. Now that's very common in this country. Well, it's probably common in most countries, I don't know, but apparently 1 in 4 adults in this country have diabetes, and also even more so it's common in monks here, and I think so also in Thailand, because they do lead sedentary lives and they do eat quite a lot, ordinary monks in temples, because they have breakfast and eat throughout the morning. Also, if you're eating a lot of rice, carbohydrates, it's not so good. So my own little bit of additional renunciation as a result of this, because there's not much more I can give up, was that I do have a tendency to drink a lot of like Coca-Cola, Pepsi and things that people say are very bad for you, and it is for that reason they're bad for you. So I'm cutting right down on that. I drink them because they're cold drinks and they have a little sugar to give you that boost of energy in the afternoon. But I'm cutting down on that and maybe having something else instead, just sticking to my black tea, black coffee. Black coffee is very good apparently for this condition. But I didn't want to talk about that too much, because that's by the by. That was leading up to being able to go and have my operation on Friday. So having a few days ago gotten the complete all clear on that and all of the tests being okay, I thought, as I was also going to this particular hospital for my surgery, I should get my eyes checked, just as a routine 6-monthly check. This is one reason, because I have my eyes checked, and actually very thoroughly checked. I have a CT scan or an MRI scan, some kind of scan on my eyes, because I had some surgery on my retinas. Because I have this every 6 months in a big hospital in India, Thailand, wherever I am, I go and have these checks on my eyes, because I had some surgery a few years ago. They can very early stages of diabetes pick it up in that. And having had those checks recently, this was another reason why I had considerable doubts as to this doctor's assumption that you must be diabetic. So I'm today talking to you, having just come back from the hospital where I'm going for my surgery, to see the eye surgeon there to get all my eyes checked too, and they're all super duper as well. But I do need to go into Colombo on Tuesday. She's made me an appointment for just another couple of routine tests to confirm her opinion. But they are more mechanical tests where you look into something and you do these. I won't go into the details, which I'm very used to and quite happy to go there. And do you know what's a wonderful thing? Gamini, who's so helpful, my helper here, the tuk-tuk man, made these appointments, and out of some money we have paid for the appointments, but getting to the hospital today, the consultant eye surgeon at the end of the appointment gave me the appointment slip back and stamped it, and she said, please go down to the reception and you'll get your money back, because I don't charge any Buddhist monks for my services. So Gamini was collected that money back for that. And this is the wonderful support that you can only get in this form. So really this is answering that one question only again, isn't it? Why I became a monk. Because it allows me, of course, this time. It's a very strange vehicle, I can't describe it. This time to practice meditation and to keep mindfulness throughout all of my daily activities. So my routine's been altered around a little bit. I still go on Pindapat at the same time, my chanting is at the same time, and it's just the rest of the day that's been juggling around a little. So I've also taken that opportunity to have a break from the phone, but I have now today got round to responding to the few comments I had. Another strange vehicle going by. We'll let that one go by. I can only describe it as a very large lawnmower towing an ordinary sized lawnmower towing a very large trailer. Hence it's struggling a little. Interesting. So that's where we're coming from. And on this New Year's Eve, whilst you're getting ready to go out to your parties, or even better, if you're getting ready to settle down for the evening for some quiet, maybe listening to Dharma, or watching one of the live broadcasts from one of the many Buddhist monasteries that now on New Year's Eve show they all offer different activities on these evenings. Usually the lay people going for the whole evening, taking the precepts, some meditation, a Dharma talk. A very, very nice way to spend New Year's Eve as an alternative to going out and partying. Now, I don't do that kind of thing because live for me, for you, doesn't really work so much because of the time difference, and there's not much to see going on here other than me sitting meditating, unless I'm chatting away like this. I don't think this is the best time of day to be talking to you from here inside the Vihara, or even so outside the Vihara because of the traffic noise, because I suppose it must be getting towards rush hour. And I don't even know, oh there it is. I was going to say I don't even know where my phone is to talk about your comments and questions. So maybe I'll get on with that as my talk for New Year's Day. I can really go through all of your comments and questions, and even I want to catch up on some of those longer questions that I have left for now, because as I commented just recently, said that, you know, try and ask questions or make comments, but I don't need entire theses or philosophical views contrary to that of this practice, my practice that I'm sharing with you, because that isn't of interest to me, and I'm not sure it would be of interest to the people listening to what I have to say, because I'm only experienced to talk to you about my own experiences. So I don't want to be discussing speculative ideas with anybody, because that would be inappropriate for me to, conversation for me to enter into. So, however, I have read through them carefully and found some appropriate and aspects that I've highlighted that I can talk about. So if I haven't answered your question, don't worry, I am getting to it. And that will be in the next few talks or videos, I'm sure. So, for New Year's Eve, renunciation. Now, back to that first question, why did I become a monk? Because accumulation, getting things we think we really need and we don't need, we just want them, craving, trying to satisfy insatiable desires, is suffering. We know that. This is the cause of suffering. Suffering, there is suffering. This is the first noble truth. There is a cause, it is desire. There is an end of suffering though. This is also what the Buddha taught in these four noble truths. But that end of suffering can only be reached through extinguishing this desire, the cause of suffering. And that is to be found in the Noble Eightfold Path of right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This can be summarized as sila, moral virtue, keeping the 5 precepts. No killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, or taking of intoxicants. Samadhi is meditation. It's both sitting and focusing, concentrating, or at least focusing the mind on one single meditation object for as long as you can, but not in an overly strained way, in a way just to satisfy your mind's desire for activity. Give it something to do, to occupy it, in order that it can then settle about all of its thinking of the past and dwelling on things that have happened that cannot be changed, in order that it doesn't start projecting and procrastinating, thinking about things in the future, which might not even happen. We have no idea. A tsunami could happen now. I'd be washed away sitting here. And we didn't know. There was no warning here. The last time that happened, 19 years ago. This next Boxing Day coming up will be the 20th anniversary. And sitting here, whoosh, I'd be gone. And this can happen. So don't think about the future when you're meditating. Of course we have to make plans ahead when the time is appropriate. But when you want to meditate, leave that for now. It can be picked up again later. As can, if necessary only, thinking about the past. But usually that does not need to be picked up again later. That is what we need to let go. And that's meditation. And all of this combined is developing the third of this summation of the Noble Eightfold Path. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Sila, moral virtue. Samadhi, meditation. Panya is wisdom. And there's no better wisdom than understanding the true nature, characteristics of life, of this existence, that they are, everything is impermanent. All the good things we're experiencing, they are impermanent. The bad things we're experiencing, they are impermanent. And all things as a result of that are unsatisfactory or suffering. So anicca, impermanence, dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, suffering. And anatta is not self. It gets thought of as such a complicated and difficult thing to get to grips with. But all it means is we are not what we think we are. I'm not this form, this monk. If I was this form, this monk, then I would have always been that. Before I ordained, I was a different form. I was a businessman, working, family life in a different part of the world, in the UK, in England, a totally different lifestyle, a totally different state of mind, a totally different way of behaving, a totally different way of thinking. Very far from the Noble Eightfold Path. Now I'm a monk. Externally an entirely different form. Now all that is common between that and this is that which knows. Now we can call this what we like. Just call it the mind. Nothing less, nothing too complicated than that word. Not this thinking brain in that sense. Not a soul which has associations with a personality, but simply what knows, that which knows. In the Pali we call this the citta. Now this Pali word citta can also be construed as something complicated to understand. But when we just think of it as that mind, it's not in the body, it's locationless, but it observes everything that this body is doing. And it can also observe, your mind can also know how your thinking brain is working, how you're thinking. It knows when you are sad, it knows when you are happy. But when you are sad, it isn't sad. When you are happy, it isn't happy. It is just knowing those emotions as they arise, as they pass away. And it is understanding that you have aversion to maybe bodily feelings of pain. Or it is understanding that you're having a liking, a clinging to pleasure, bodily pleasure and joy in that respect. But it itself is only the observer. And when we put ourselves in its place, as being that witness, watching all that is going on within these 5 aggregate constituents of our body, this physical body made up of these elements of solidity, liquidity, gaseousness, temperature, air, spaciousness, we can then see this element of consciousness, feeling, thought associated with the thinking brain as a form of consciousness that is there with those 5 aggregates, those 5 khandhas is the Pali word, that make up what we think is this self, we can still see even that consciousness is observable from this mind, this citta, from a separate point of view. This is where freedom from suffering is. And this can only be experienced in samadhi, in deep states of samadhi, we call jhanas, where you can be just this knower, puru, this knowing witness, this citta, and you can experience this slight separation from this physical being we call ourselves. So anatta, that very important, but maybe sometimes difficult to understand, isn't that difficult. We're just not what we think we are. And in your own lives, our own lives, we've changed. We're not the same, either physically or mentally, as we were when we were 6 years old, 16 years old, 26, 36, 56, or 106. We change throughout our lives. Our attitudes, our inclinations, everything is continuously changing. This is anicca. But what isn't changing is that which observes. Now, how we act throughout our lives and why we practice this in this form or as lay people, this Buddhist path the Buddha showed us, this Noble Eightfold Path, which is essentially mainly made up of morality, moral virtue, being good, being kind, being nice. Why we do that? Because this gives momentum for that citta to be reborn into a good place, or not to be reborn into a bad place. If we continually try to fuel our whims, our desires, and satisfy insatiable cravings and thirst, then this is often going to be the development or even the encouragement of unwholesome mind states, which is going to give momentum and propel that citta into lower forms of rebirth. And if we develop, however, through the practice of this Noble Eightfold Path, more wholesome mind states, the opposite is so, that we're propelling this citta into higher forms of rebirth. But if you're not of that way inclined to accept, because I'm not asking anyone to believe, but only to experience for themselves, as to what happens after we die, and that is perfectly acceptable, not to accept what you don't know and cannot experience for yourself yet or remember from previous lives, because of course you've been born into this life, you've come from somewhere. If you're not ready for that, it's okay, because you can see the causes and conditions you put in place right here and now on this New Year's Eve. If you give up drinking, or you give up smoking, or you give up going to the cinema too much, or playing a game, or whatever people give up these days. I haven't got much left to give up, so I'm running out of ideas for you, but whatever you're giving up, if that's going to increase wholesome mind states and decrease unwholesome mind states, as well as increase and improve bodily health, then you will see the results within this lifetime very soon. You will see and reap the rewards of what you sow. Reap what you sow. If you start living healthily, not drinking, not smoking, practicing meditation, by this time next year, you will, without any shadow of a doubt, have improved your life beyond any recognition. But that's quite an achievement. But if you can do a little bit of that for some time, you'll notice the difference. But it does take, it's progressive, it does take some time. So this is why in Buddhism we have this practice, but at this time of year, it's valuable to remember that being a time when people make New Year's resolutions, and these, what do we call it? That's a New Year's resolution, but this is renunciation. The adhitthana in Pali, determination to give something up, to not think of it as just giving something up you like, but think of it as giving yourself the opportunity to gain so much more, because that is what you're doing. You give up smoking, think how much money you have. Now, you may not be wanting to accumulate money, but think how much money you're not wasting. You could give the money to a good cause, or you could buy yourself something nice that's healthy with that money you save. That's probably a bad example these days, I don't know. But drinking, of course, it's no good at all, because you cannot have mindfulness if you're having anything by way of intoxicants affecting how we think. So with this in mind, I will wish that you have a very enjoyable New Year's Eve, doing whatever you're doing. And if you're spending the night alone, as I will be doing, try and see that as an opportunity. Even if you spend every night alone and you don't like it, at least understand that some people don't have that option to be alone, and they would like to be from time to time. So we can always see a positive in these negatives and exploit that positive for our own happiness and enjoyment. This practice of Buddhism, although it seems about renunciation and this tough life of a monk, it's not. It's about happiness. The Buddha is teaching us how to be happy. And I've never been more happy, especially here in this country where I'm so well supported. Now, I'm not even ill. I've had such wonderful comments from you all wishing me well with this surgery and this, but I'm not ill, I'm not suffering, I'm not in pain. I have an injury. It's a little uncomfortable because I have to walk, or I walk. Don't have to. I enjoy walking 7 kilometers every day on Pindapat and carrying all this stuff back. But once it's repaired, it's done for a good many years to come. And I've had the same surgery before, 14 years ago, and that's going strong to this day. So I'm not even ill. However, the support I've been given by you, all of you people watching, subscribers, and the people here in this village and the nearby town where I'm living, looking after me, taking me to appointments. You know, it's got a little confusing. I don't speak Sinhalese, and they don't speak much English. They speak great tourist English, so if you want to know where to get this and go there and here and there, but when it comes to my practical needs, of course, that's not conversational language that they've had experienced before. So, you know, it's got a little bit difficult, and I've maybe not been as patient as I would like to have been all of the time with this, with everyone. But I've been able to reflect upon that and go back and say, hey doctor, I'm sorry I shouted at you. But I get very frustrated, and they've not been bothered at all. Now, I don't think I've shouted at any doctors or actually shouted at anybody, but you get quite sensitive over right speech yourself when you're practicing this Noble Eightfold Path, very much as your life as a monk in this form. So this is the practice. I hope you can do this evening on this New Year's Eve, or you can continue with it into the new year, when I will be continuing with these talks. I seem to have completely gone off the track. It's probably even starting to get dark now. I've not gone into what I said. I've talked about your comments and questions, but they can, I will catch up on those next time. And in the meantime, enjoy your festivities, whatever we call them. A very happy and healthy New Year with many blessings, or with my blessings, with metta, loving kindness to you all of you watching, listening, in the future or now. May you enjoy your evening and go positively into 2024 with only good intentions, because good intentions are the most important thing. If we analyze our intentions in every step we make, everything else will come to you. All that you deserve will come to you. This is This is how we are lucky. We make our luck by having good intentions. Everything you need will come to you. I need for nothing here. Each day I'm fed, I'm housed, I'm clothed. My medicinal requirements, even though I have funds in place abroad to, insurance to make sure that I am okay in this respect, the day-to-day needs of mine are met by these very devoted and kind, generous people, using that as an opportunity to give to the Sangha, not to me personally, but to this monastic Sangha, as meritorious activity. But however you look at it, it is doing good. And when you do good, you get good back. So, on that note, I will ask you, if you find anything useful here, please use it. If not, you can just let it go, leave it in 2023, and start 2024 afresh. I will be starting 2024 afresh with you here in these talks by trying to go through all of your comments and questions precisely, concisely, and nicely. I just made that up on the cuff. That's just come out. I don't know where it came from, but it's quite good, isn't it? Precisely, concisely, and nicely. No nagging, no lecturing, just trying to answer your questions from a place of kindness. Sukhi Hotu. Be happy and stay well. Happy New Year.